Yeah, we got a good lineup. We got guys who are going to get on base, steal bases, play good defense.
And all of the storylines heading into tonight's game.
Realize that there's 4 months left to play and a lot can happen, so you got to still be on top of things and not take anything for granted.
So let's get to it.
I mean, we have the best fans in the world.
Here is your host, Hunter Baumgardt.
Let's get you set for Game 2 between the Brewers and the Cardinals at American Family Field. The Brewers took Game 1 5-1 yesterday, come in with a record of 31-20 on the season, and the Cardinals come in with a record of 29-23 into tonight's matchup. Michael McGreevy on the mound for the Cardinals, Kyle Harrison on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers. Excited to have you with us here on the pregame show, and here's what's coming up on the show. A lot to get to. We'll get to the lineups here in just a moment. We'll get to the news of the day. Unfortunately, some bad news on the injury front for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to that. We'll hear from Brewers manager Pat Murphy on a myriad of items, including today's lineup, including the injuries and more. And we'll also, of course, get you our bullpen report, the newest feature and newest addition to the show. And so that is going to be coming up here in a little while. I also had a chance to sit down yesterday with Shane Drohan, bullpen arm, long relief. He's been pretty good in the Brewers uniform, came over from Boston in the Caleb Durbin deal. I talked to him not only about how he's pitched this year, but also Kyle Harrison. Turns out they were roommates at AAA for the Boston Red Sox last year. So excited to get for you to hear that conversation with Shane Drohan. That comes up here in a little while. And we'll also dig into the member of, the newest member of the Brewers who is back for the third time this year. I'll tell you who that is coming up. But first, let's get you the starting lineups for both of these teams here. Let's start with the St. Louis Cardinals, who come in with a record of 29-23. Leading off at second base is J.J. Weatherholt. Batting second and behind the plate, Ivan Herrera. Batting third and right field, Jordan Walker. Cleanup hitter, first baseman Nate Burleson. Batting fifth and at third base is Jose Fermin. Batting sixth at shortstop, Mason Wynn. Batting seventh in left field, Brian Torres. Batting eighth and as the designated hitter is Yoel Pozo. And batting ninth in center field is Victor Scott. For the Cardinals, it's Weatherholt, Herrera, Walker, Burleson, Fermin, Wynn, Torres, Pozo, and Scott. Now for the Milwaukee Brewers, and you'll notice a little bit of change in this lineup. Leading off and as the designated hitter, it is Christian Yelich. Batting second in left field, Jackson Chourio. Batting third at second base, Bryce Terang. Cleanup hitter, the catcher, William Contreras. Batting fifth at first base, Jake Bowers. Batting sixth in center field, Garrett Mitchell. Batting seventh at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting eighth in right field, Sal Frelick. And batting ninth at shortstop is David Hamilton. For the Brewers, it's Yelich, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Bowers, Mitchell, Rengifo, Frelick, and Hamilton. Those are your starting lineups here this evening for both of these teams. And like I said, as you'll mention, the kind of the interesting change at the top is Christian Yelich, the DH for the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, we are used to seeing him in the 3 spot, the 4 spot, mostly cleanup hitter this season, but he is now tonight going to be the leadoff hitter. So why is he batting leadoff? Let's ask the manager. I almost said Craig Counsell. Come on. Here's Pat Murphy.
I mean, he's done it before.
Yeah.
And I think he's best when he's in that ball strike mode and not in that hunt to drive type mode. And it's maybe only one time a game, but I think it is an option for us, and we're looking at it. Get your top hitters to hit the most.
Yeah.
Is there something with Chourio not being leadoff? Not in a negative way, but just his profile fits less as the on-base guy.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that in there. I'd like Yelich doing that, and then I like Chourio getting pitches because Yelich can steal second.
So that's interesting, right? Couple things there. One is, look, he's done it before, and he likes to be in that. He likes Yelly when he's in his strike ball mode. And you think about that in his production, right? We think about the meat of the Brewers order. We think about how they want to produce runs. We think about the limited home runs that this team hits. And Christian Yelich just hit one yesterday, and you think, man, he's in a RBI scenario, right? He comes up with a man on and a 2-run shot. if he's the leadoff hitter, he can't hit a 2-run shot. However, that's only once in the game, right? And Murph references it there, but it's only once a game that he's in the leadoff spot, and he may not lead off another inning all game. But it is interesting because you look at who follows him, right? Jackson Chourio, who also has been let lead off many times. And you think about him, and it's like he's more of the bat to ball, put the ball in play, strikeout. The walks are something that has kind of been limited in his career at times. So that's the interesting part is Jackson Chourio may be actually better suited for the 2 spot. So who do you put at the leadoff spot? I mean, Rice Terang has obviously been an option in the past, but he's become very, RBI heavy as far as being able to drive the ball everywhere, doubles, everything like that. So if you like him at the 3 spot and Contreras has been doing what he's doing, you can put him at the cleanup spot. Why not put Yelly up there? And against a righty in McGreevy tonight, I like it. So that is the situation with Christian Yelich. Nothing, crazy, but just a little bit of a switch up. And I'm interested to see how the lineup looks tonight. Remember, this was something that Christian Yelich has done in the past. This is something Pat Murphy has done with Christian Yelich in the past. So this is not something completely out of the blue. It just is a little out of the blue for me because I was like, well, he just hit a home run yesterday. You want guys on base, but he thinks, we're going to try this configuration of the lineup. And we'll see it happen. We'll see what happens. You also have Jake Bauers now batting 5th. You have Garrett Mitchell batting 6th, and then your last 3 is Rengifo, Frelick, and Hamilton. But you get Bauers back in there today against a righty. Frelick back in there today after having the day off yesterday. Want to hear from you on YouTube, Facebook, or X? Feel free to comment there if you're watching the show tonight. Also, if you're so inclined and want to hit up the NicoletLaw.com talk and text line at 877-794-1973, you can do that as well. The news of the day, other than the lineup, is unfortunately another pitcher is headed to the IL. Logan Henderson, who had been magnificent since coming up this year from Nashville. He made 1 start in April, then had made a handful of starts in May. He comes up from Nashville. He's been dynamite, and unfortunately, he goes to the IL with a low back strain. Now, Coleman Crowe has been recalled. We all know what he's done in his 2 starts so far, 1 in Miami, 1 in Minnesota. And he is going to the plan is for him to start on Friday against the Houston Astros in Houston Friday night. So that is what they're planning to do on Friday. Now, they still are TBA for tomorrow. They have not announced a starter. Maybe we'll get that from Pat Murphy after the game. We asked him before the game, and he said it'll be somebody, some collection of players from the roster, basically was his answer, which I get. They're still trying to figure it out. I'll get to who I think is going to start here in a little while tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's hear from Logan Henderson in a moment, because Logan Henderson, unfortunately, this comes at just a tough time. He had been cruising since coming back up to the majors. He had kind of found his spot in the rotation with Woody out, with Priester out. This is a good time for Logan Henderson, and unfortunately, it's a bad time to hit the injured list. Let's hear what Pat Murphy had to say when asked about the injury of Logan Henderson.
Are you anticipating a longer one here?
I don't think so. No, I hopefully not. It warranted enough that it hasn't calmed down, and they don't think they've done the MRI. They don't think there's anything bulging or anything like that, so they feel confident they can get it put down, calm down, the normal ways of calming things down.
There you go. So, they're hopeful, right? And that's what matters most, right? They're hopeful that this can be a short-term absence. The estimated return right now is mid-June. That's about 3 weeks or so. 15-day IL. He's obviously got to be out just over 2 weeks. So with knowing that, it's obviously not opportune because you don't have Woodruff or Priester back yet. And we'll get to Woody in a little bit, but unfortunately, Woodruff, it sounds like that's been a little delayed as well. He had been targeting a date, maybe even tomorrow, to come back, and unfortunately, that is no longer the case. So it's not, going to be a huge extension for him, but he is going to, unfortunately, miss a little more time than maybe they wanted to in the first place, but they want to be safe with him. So we'll get to Woody in a little while, but let's hear from Logan Henderson. This is about 3 minutes with reporters earlier today at the ballpark, just explaining the injury, when he felt it, when he faced the Dodgers over the weekend, and then also a little bit about the timeline, what he's felt since, and why he's on the IL with a low back strain.
Can you just kind of describe for us? I know it felt a little tight during the game, and then did it just get worse?
Yeah. I want to say either in the third inning or going back out for the fourth. Just tweaked something and was fighting through it the rest of the game, was trying to leave it all out on the field there. And after the game, I didn't feel my best, and I just haven't recovered the way I wanted to.
Is that something you've dealt with?
A little bit, something that, had kind of popped up a couple weeks ago, but it was minor. It was a handful of things that we did in the weight room and training room, and it would clear up. So was on top of it, wasn't too worried about it, and then, kind of popped up being more than what we had hoped it would be. So.
Was there a moment you kind of felt it, or was it just that inning overall, and then you just kind of?
Yeah, looking back on it, I think it was some moment in the fourth. I don't remember a specific pitch, but
Sure.
I remember specifically in the Freeman at bat when I walked him. Didn't feel like I was able to finish my stuff. So somewhere in that time frame.
Sure.
Because you guys have this depth, you have guys who can kind of step up while you're down. Does that give you some peace of mind, just of not pushing something that might become worse?
Yeah, I would say so. To a degree, I want to be out there. It's certainly disappointing. I feel like, obviously letting the team down and the fans down to a degree, but we have a lot of depth, and it's good knowing that the guys who are going to step up are going to do a great job, and they've been doing a great job.
Shut down at all?
Sorry?
Shut down from throwing at all?
I haven't played catch in a couple days.
Is there a timeline for playing catch even?
Hopefully soon. I think we're making a little bit of progress on it, and we don't want to make this turn into something longer than it needs to be, but at the same time being cautious and try to come back being 100% myself again.
Did this feel like something you could try to work through, or did it feel pretty early on like it was kind of time to take a step back for a couple of days at least?
I absolutely tried to work through it. I think you could ask anybody in the locker room or throughout the league, everybody's dealing with something, but no, I tried to, and there's certain things that, are giving me fits in everyday life with the low back. So again, we're making a little progress on it, but if I can't, putting on my shoes is hard. A couple days ago, it's hard to throw a baseball. So,
There you go. Logan Henderson, after his injury, and unfortunately felt it there when he was pitching against the Dodgers. They mentioned it after the game. That was something that they had mentioned, that he felt that he was dealing with a little back since kind of second inning is what they mentioned the night of, maybe the fourth inning. He was dealing with a little bit, pitched through it. And then he said he didn't think much of it after the game when we talked to him right after he finished pitching. But then unfortunately just didn't recover. And that's always it. We talked to Pat Murphy about, a guy like Jared Koenig, who did some pitching today on the side. And he's like, it's not about how those results go. It's about how he bounces back. And that's a lot of what pitchers deal with. Not just about how they feel right after they throw, but how do the next few days go? Unfortunately, the next few days didn't go great. Pat Murphy told us yesterday in his pregame meeting that there is reason for concern with his lower back, talking about Logan Henderson. And today, the IL move, Coleman Crowe, is on the Major League roster and set to start on Friday in Houston. But just not fun, just not fun for a guy. And you could tell, yes, this team has depth, but I want to be part of that. And I want to be out there right now. So what happens to the rotation, right? This team does have depth, right? Coleman Crowe can step into that role. You are already down kind of one guy, trying to figure out who is going to be that fifth starter a little bit here, because you have Miz, you have Harrison, and you have Sproat. But then Gasser was sent down on Saturday, and now you lose Logan Henderson. So now you're down two. Who is going to fill that spot? Well, Coleman Crowe, I think, is going to be a regular starter now at the majors. I know a lot of people have been excited about that, wanting that. That looks like it's going to happen. So Coleman Crowe will make another start Friday. But then who else joins the rotation. I mean, coming up tomorrow, they got to throw somebody out there at 12:40 for the series finale. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think so. Obviously, you look to a couple of, a few arms. Chad Patrick, Shane Drohan, DL Hall, I think are the likely three that you're picking from to start tomorrow, or go bulk, right? You could go opener, you go DL Hall for one, and then Chad for three and Drohan for three, however you want to slice it. But who is going to eat up the bulk innings tomorrow, whether they start or not? And that is a good question. I think for me, if I were to guess, Chad Patrick, and I'll tell you why. Let's get into our bullpen report, which we do each and every pregame show, telling you who could be available tonight for the bullpen. And because it plays right into who I think is going to pitch tomorrow. So Abner Uribe and Trevor McGill have not pitched in a week. So you have your leverage guys ready to rock and roll for tonight. Chad Patrick threw 22 pitches back on Friday. So he hasn't thrown since Friday. I have a feeling Chad Patrick is in line to start tomorrow. And then if he doesn't get into the game tonight, if he gets into the game, maybe that throws, but I would see, or maybe not start, but at least be a bulk contributor coming up tomorrow, whether it's to start the game, relieve. Remember, Pat Murphy has talked about Chad Patrick in a role that, like, we know we can get 3-4 innings out of him. It can be at the start of a game. It can be in the middle of a game. The opponent won't know. So I don't blame him for not announcing a starter today. I don't think that's a bad idea. Keep him guessing. And then if Chad Patrick does start, okay, are they going to pull him after 2? They're going to pull him after 3. Depending on the situation, they probably need a little more length from him tomorrow. But then Shane Drohan threw 40 pitches on Sunday. So if he doesn't pitch today, I think he could definitely throw a couple of innings coming up tomorrow. But I would say since Chad has not pitched since Friday and tomorrow's Wednesday, I would think that Chad Patrick could very much be in line for some good bulk coming up tomorrow. And then DL Hall and Grant Anderson, along with Jake Woodford, all pitched on Saturday. Hall threw 29 pitches, Anderson threw 26, and Jake Woodford threw 49. I would think all those guys, maybe not Woodford, but otherwise Hall and Anderson would be available tonight. And then Carlos Rodriguez threw 38 pitches on Sunday. Shane Drohan threw 40 pitches on Sunday. I would guess that they'll try to keep away from those guys tonight, knowing you need bulk tomorrow, and both of those guys could be in play for that tomorrow. Maybe not as much as Chad, but still could throw a significant amount. And then Aaron Ashby threw 21 pitches yesterday, but that guy can do anything, basically. So I wouldn't rule him out for tonight. He went 2 innings and closed that game out yesterday, which was awesome. Appreciate the comments coming in here. Let's see here. Lost Dobler asking, why is Woodford on the team? Look, you need a guy to eat up innings, and that's what Jake Woodford is right now. You need a guy at the bottom of the bullpen to do that. That's who it is. It's a big leaguer, and he does. I mean, you're always going to probably have one of those guys at the back end of that bullpen, just because that's how it works. Let's see here. Boss Dobler getting on us for asking about the timeline regarding injuries. Says it's hilarious that reporters ask that for the timeline regarding injuries. Every athlete heals at a different pace. Everyone knows this except the reporters. Oh, believe you me, I definitely know that everybody heals at a different pace. If the Brewers give us a timeline, so this is how this works. The Brewers give us a timeline usually when an injury is designated. So, when Yelly went on the IL, it was mid to late May. He came back right before mid-May, right? I guess right about mid-May. The timelines change. Obviously, Woodruff's timeline has changed. I'll talk to you about that here in a moment. But so the Brewers go out. They usually put a timeline on it. Then Pat Murphy will give a little bit of a timeline, and then the player sometimes does, sometimes doesn't. But it's good to get all of those perspectives and then kind of make your judgment after that, instead of, it's one of those questions that just kind of has to be asked, because if you don't, then you don't really know what they're thinking in their head. Obviously, they want to come back as quick as possible. We know they're not going to give yes, I'm going to be back in 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, I'm going to be pitching on the mound. Nobody knows, but it's still a question that kind of has to be asked in those scenarios. So appreciate it. Yeah, Joe just commented this, and I want to get to this before the first break. Joe just said, did you hear about Josh Jacobs? Yeah, so if you've not heard, this is some breaking news here, and I know this is a Brewers show. We talk Brewers But this is a significant sports story. Of course, our sister station 95.7 Big FM is the home of the Green Bay Packers. And of course, Drew and Billy do the post-game show, Packers OT. You've got Drew on there with Dennis on the pregame show and everything. So we are obviously a big part of Packers broadcasts. And unfortunately, about 15 minutes ago, about 20 minutes ago, just as I went on the air, Matt Schneidman of The Athletic was first with it. Says Josh Jacobs, running back for the Green Bay Packers, has been arrested and booked into jail on 5 charges. And the 5 charges are battery, domestic abuse, criminal damage to property, domestic abuse, disorderly conduct, domestic abuse, strangulation and suffocation, and intimidation of a victim. I mean, that just awful. So he was booked into the Brown County Jail today. Now, a statement has come out via Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network via his attorneys and says Josh vehemently denies the allegations, and this matter is in the early stages of investigation with important evidence that has not yet been made public. We ask for fairness and restraint while the judicial process takes its course. That is what we know up to now. That is big news when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. It is absolutely awful. Obviously, just looking at that and seeing what types of charges that Josh Jacobs is dealing with there. That is not good. That is, you feel for, again, if the alleged is true, you feel for obviously the victim in all of this. So just thoughts and prayers to everybody in the situation. But that is significant news when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. The NFL has put out a statement saying we are aware of the report and have been in contact with the club, meaning in contact with the Packers. The Packers say we are aware of the matter involving Josh Jacobs. It is an ongoing legal situation. We will withhold further comment. There you go. So that is the news. Josh Jacobs, running back for the Green Bay Packers, arrested on 5 charges today. Yeah, just no way around it. That is incredibly sad news, just to put it plainly. So that is the news. Appreciate you commenting there, Joe. It was planning to get to it at some point here. I know we talk Brewers, but that is obviously affecting our local teams, and the huddle, I'm sure, will react more tomorrow morning with Drew, Billy, and Armin. When we come back, you will hear my one-on-one interview with Shane Drohan, who was acquired obviously from Boston in the Caleb Durbin deal. We'll hear from him. He talks about not only how he's pitched this season, but also Kyle Harrison, who was his roommate at AAA Worcester for the Boston Red Sox last year. And he has some really good words for Kyle Harrison, who starts tonight for the Crew against Michael McGreevy of the Cardinals. Should be a good one. 6:40 first pitch. We're getting you ready. It's the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded right here on Fox Sports 920.
getting ready for the game. This is the Baseball Pregame Show with Hunter Baumgardt. Presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894.
Brewers and Cardinals from American Family Field, about 40 minutes away. Michael McGreevy on the mound for the Cardinals, 3-3 with a 2.40 ERA against Kyle Harrison, who's 5-1 with a 1.77 ERA. He has been dynamite this season. We'll get to him and some of his numbers coming up here in just a little while. What has impressed you about Kyle Harrison? Want to hear from you on YouTube, Facebook, or X, wherever you may be watching, or also on the text line as well. NicoletLaw.com talking text line at 877-794-1973. I mentioned that it sounds like Woodruff has possibly been pushed back when it comes to when he might return. Now, Brandon Woodruff left that outing on April 30th, so we're at May 26th now. Left that outing with complaints of dead arm. He restarted his throwing program. He's scheduled for a 4-up live BP next week. And he had thrown last on Friday, so it was like, oh, well, he'll probably throw again this week. Sounds like that's not necessarily going to be the case. It is going to be next week. So then the question was asked to Pat Murphy about Brandon Woodruff, and is this kind of a little bit of a setback, or what's going on here?
Is the Woody thing a concern, or just?
I don't think it is.
Part of the.
No, I think it's just part of this process here. Had a date scheduled that he wanted to get back for, and after thinking through it and throwing and seeing how he feels, it's like probably not. Probably it's too soon. Okay. So we'll do some combination tomorrow of guys that are on the roster.
So a couple things there. One is he doesn't think it's a concern for Woodruff. It's just part of it, and it's just taking a little longer than expected. I think the target date was tomorrow. If the last time he pitched was, Friday, and that was the live BP, and I think that they had been targeting tomorrow, because at the end you hear him say, so tomorrow we're going to come up with a group of players that are on the roster to fill the innings. That means I think they're kind of planning for Brandon Woodruff tomorrow. And the Coleman Crow thing was going to be Friday either way, most likely. So that's the interesting part about it as we continue the baseball pregame show on WOKY AM Milwaukee, Fox Sports 920. Appreciate you listening. I think that's an interesting one, is that it sounds like they were targeting May 27th. Maybe the series finale, or Friday. Could have been Friday as well, but I kind of think it was tomorrow, since he referenced that at the end. So again, Brandon Woodruff delayed a little bit. The Brewers saying earlier today that he's estimated to return is still early June. So let's say he does it next week. Let's say best case scenario, maybe he throws the live on Monday. Maybe he's back next weekend, which would be in Colorado. So that would be considered early June as well. So we'll keep an eye on that, but that's the latest on Brandon Woodruff. All right, let's hear from Shane Drohan, who came up, did his major league debut as a starter against Boston, but then has been in the bullpen since and has been pretty good in giving the Brewers bullpen length so far this season. I asked him a myriad of questions yesterday, some about how he's liked the time in the organization so far, some about his role in the bullpen, and then also about Kyle Harrison at the end. So enjoy my conversation with Brewers bullpen arm Shane Drohan.
Shane, first question for you. Been in this organization now a few months. How have you enjoyed your time and just kind of gotten to know this organization and how they work?
It's been great. I feel like they've just really helped me kind of like lean into being myself and who I am. And I feel like it's, really helped produce results on the mound. Just going out there, feeling really confident in myself and just executing pitches.
In what ways do they encourage you to be yourself out there?
I think they kind of really early on, they just reiterated of like how like I was ready for the big leagues. I was going to pitch in the big leagues. I was going to do well. There wasn't like any sense of feeling of like, oh, I needed to do more. I needed to add another pitch or, make a pitch, 10 times better or anything like that. It was just like, hey, you're ready right now. It just comes down to executing pitches.
How, I'm guessing that could be pretty freeing when you hear that, in camp, and then you obviously see yourself in the big leagues. Then it happens, you get results. I'm guessing that's kind of a more freeing feeling to go out there and do what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the best league in the world, so it can be, easy to kind of like hype stuff up in your head and overdo things. And I feel like you'll see that a lot with guys early on in their career where they try to do a little bit too much instead of just, really being grounded in who they are as a pitcher or a player, whichever it may be. I feel like they just do a really good job here of just being like, hey, you're good enough right now. Just go play your game.
Was there a point in the last, month and a half that you feel, or almost 2 months, that you feel like, okay, that's when it was kind of like, yeah, I can do this up here?
I mean, I think it was just like from my second outing on. I think the first one was tough. It was tough circumstances. I was in the pen the first 2 nights, kind of like ready to go. And then they were like, okay, you're going to start the third game. It's freezing cold. Couldn't really feel my hand. Couldn't feel the ball. But yeah, from that point on, it was just like, I just felt pretty comfortable out there. As comfortable as you can in the big leagues, but yeah, just from that second outing on, it was just like, just attack the hitters. Sometimes you got to just let them get themselves out, or, if you get into the position to make some pitches to punch them out, you go do that.
How has it helped too to have that consistent, role as a relief? I know, you started in your first one, but now you've had that consistency being in the bullpen. I'm guessing that helps. Just like you said, the goal is to get outs.
Yeah, absolutely. I said from the beginning of the season, like I would be, willing to do whatever it was that the team needed, whether it was start or out of the pen. I just wanted to pitch in the big leagues. So, but yeah, having that consistency there helps a lot. It just allows you to kind of like really figure out what's going on. I've kind of figured out like my role as a pitcher in the pen, where like I'm kind of ready to go from like the third inning on. I'm kind of that guy where if like, it hits the fan early, like I know it's kind of going to be me to eat up some innings, but there is some times where it's like later in the game, just go for one.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's like from the third inning on, it's like, okay, be ready.
Is there how big is the mentality, or if any difference, between coming in for a 1 inning relief compared to being ready for 3 or 4? When you come in, are you ready to go as long as they need me?
Yeah, not really. I found, I kind of just try to keep it as simple as possible, and just come in, get guys out, and just keep doing that until they take the ball. I feel like I don't really want to have a different mindset or just like assume like, oh, this could be a 1 inning one, and have that mindset, and then it turns into like 3, 4, and it might, unravel like later in the outing. So it's kind of just like, yeah, come in, execute, get the guys out, and pitch till they tell you not to.
How much has the ability of your defenders behind you helped you been able to just attack like you want to?
Oh, so much. I mean, when you got guys like our infield and outfield that can just track, almost every ball down, it just allows you to just pound the zone, put the pressure on their lineup, force them to make decisions. And I feel like, just overall, it just allows you to just attack their lineup without any fear of like what could happen. I think it's a huge advantage for our pitchers.
What do you think of what your teammate coming over from Boston, Kyle Harrison, has done so far this season?
Unbelievable, man. I mean, I always knew it was in there. We were roommates in Worcester last year. I was hurt in Florida, like when the trade happened, when he got traded over. And then when I, healed up and got back up to Worcester, we were roommates up there. Just to see, what he went through with Boston there. I felt like he didn't really get a fair shot, but just, he just kept his head down and just continued to work. And you see the results from the work now. I mean, couldn't happen to a better person. He's just a stud, man.
Shane, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
No problem. Anytime.
There he is, Shane Drohan, relief pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, and really enjoyed the conversation and appreciate his answers and talking to me and just kind of picking his brain about his different types of roles, right? It's one thing to come in and do 1 inning. It's another to come in and do 3 or 4 innings, and most of his outings have been kind of that bulk role, couple innings more, depending on what they need. And it was interesting to hear him talk about that, just trying to come in and get outs. And then also talking about Kyle Harrison and saying he didn't really think Kyle Harrison got a fair shot in Boston. And look, I mean, it's what it seems like, right? The guy through 9 starts in a Brewers uniform has a 1.77 ERA. And that's different than anything he's done in his career when it comes to the Giants or the Boston Red Sox. And I just think it is another example of this Brewers front office going out and getting somebody that they think has a lot of potential, putting them in the right positions to succeed, and the coaching staff doing what they do to make him better. Let's hear what Brewers manager Pat Murphy has to say about Kyle Harrison's great start so far.
The last few starts for Kyle is kind of been following his, obviously, and kind of both after with back-to-back good start. What do you see from him kind of in those in-between days that gives you confidence every time he steps on the line?
Yeah, he's really interested, man. He's kind of found a home, and he's really interested in being good. And he's been really consistent. His breaking ball has been as good as it's ever been, and obviously that helps his heater play up. And yeah, he's committed. He's committed to doing this thing and being an everyday starter, in terms of in the big leagues. So it's great to see, man. It's great to see his confidence grow. It's like the best part of my job, is like to see players feeling themselves. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a great joy.
What were your early impressions of him at spring training as you got to know him?
He looks like Corbin Burns.
But could you have expected like this kind of consistency from him with the guy that you saw at spring training?
Well, I'll tell you this. We faced him with the Giants whatever number of years ago that was. And I said, this guy's sneaky. The heater plays. I'm like, why doesn't this guy pitch? You never know what's going on. I gave very little thought to it. And I heard we were getting him in a trade from Boston. And I was like, wow. Interesting. I remember that. I remember that outing. So I just started thinking to myself, there's a lot of untapped potential there, and maybe he just needs to change the scenery and find a home. Exactly what happened. And put him through the car wash. And, it was good.
H&H Car Wash working again. H&H, Henderson and Hook doing what they do. And that's exactly it. I thought it was interesting that Pat Murphy said that he kind of caught his eye there a little bit, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And then kind of didn't think, didn't really put much thought into it because it's a different team and he's trying to focus on his own team. But then eventually it came back when Kyle Harrison got shipped over to his team, the Milwaukee Brewers. And right now, Kyle Harrison is just rolling. The guy continues to impress. He's got 9 starts and hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of them. His last 2 starts, get this, 12 innings, no runs, 1 walk, 18 strikeouts. He has a May ERA of 1.23, 1 walk, 18 strikeouts. That is quite impressive when it comes to just his last 2 starts. So he continues to roll. And he gets the start tonight opposite Michael McGreevy, who is a right-hander for the Cardinals, and he's been pretty dynamite himself. He has an overall ERA this season of 2.40, but his ERA in May is 1.57. So both of these pitchers have been really good in the month of May. And you look at, so McGreevy has 10 starts on the season. He's only allowed 4 earned runs in 1 of them. 4 of his last 5 outings, he's made it through 6 innings. So he's been able to get length as well. His last time out was last Wednesday, and that was actually the one of the 5 that he did not last 6 innings. He went 5 innings against Pittsburgh, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and just 1 strikeout. That was last Wednesday against Pittsburgh. So we'll see what he does tonight. But McGreevy's been having a pretty good year so far for the St. Louis Cardinals, and that's what the Brewers will face tonight. All right, when we come back, we will get you the lineups one more time. Hint, hint. There's a new man in the leadoff role. And we'll also dig into a little bit about Coleman Crow, who is going to be getting the start on Friday night against Houston. He was the one recalled from AAA Nashville today when Logan Henderson was placed on the IL. We'll hear a little bit of Pat Murphy on Coleman Crow. And that should probably do it. We'll give you a little bit of fast facts, as we always do. Give you some things to make you a little smarter before you watch tonight's ball game. So all that coming up. This is the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded right here on Fox Sports 920.
Milwaukee takes the field in a matter of minutes. It's time to take a look at tonight's lineup on the Baseball Pregame Show, presented by Import Minded, your trusted choice for exceptional vehicle care on South 27th, just north of 894. Here's Hunter Baumgardt.
Brewers and Cardinals just about 22 minutes away at American Family Field. Michael McGreevy on the mound for the Cardinals, and Kyle Harrison gets the start for the Crew. Let's get you the lineups one more time to make sure if you didn't hear them earlier in the show. Let's get them to him right now, and then I'll get to some comments here on YouTube, Facebook, and X as they're coming in. Let's start with the visitors, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals, who are 29-23 on the season. Brewers coming into this game tonight with a 2.5-game lead on the Cardinals and a 3.5-game lead on the Cubs in the National League Central. The Cardinals will line up like this. Leading off at second base, J.J. Weatherholt. Batting second and behind the plate, Ivan Herrera. Batting third in right field, Jordan Walker. Cleanup hitters, the first baseman, Nate Burleson. Batting fifth at third base, Jose Fermin. Batting sixth at shortstop, Mason Wynn. Batting seventh in left field, Brian Torres. Batting eighth as the DH, Yoel Pozo. Batting ninth in center field, Victor Scott. For the Cardinals, it's Weatherholt, Herrera, Walker, Burleson, Fermin, Wynn, Torres, Pozo, and Scott. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they are 31-20, as I mentioned, 2.5 games above the Cardinals in the National League Central. Leading off and the designated hitter, Christian Yelich. Interesting, huh? Yelly in the leadoff spot. Batting second in left field, Jackson Chourio. Batting third at second base, Bryce Terang. Cleanup hitters, the catcher, William Contreras. Batting fifth at first base, Jake Bowers. Batting sixth in center field, Garrett Mitchell. Batting seventh at third base, Luis Rengifo. Batting eighth in right field, Sal Frelick. And batting ninth at shortstop is David Hamilton. Again, for the Crew, Yelich, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Bowers, Mitchell, Rengifo, Frelick, and Hamilton. Why Yelly to the leadoff spot? Well, this is what Brewers manager Pat Murphy had to say earlier today.
I mean, he's done it before.
Yeah.
And I think he's best when he's in that ball strike mode and not in that hunt to drive type mode. And it's maybe only one time a game, but I think it is an option for us, and we're looking at it. Get your top hitters to hit the most.
Yeah. Is there something with Chourio not being lead off? Not in a negative way, but just his profile fits less as the on-base guy.
Yeah, maybe there's some of that in there. I'd like Yelich doing that, and then I like Chourio getting pitches because Yelich can steal second.
So there you go. Little background of why Yelly is in the leadoff spot coming up tonight. All right, a couple of comments coming in here on the YouTube chat. One from Lex, who says, did Murph tell Sal he loves him yet? Yeah, if you missed it yesterday, Carly Murata of TMJ4 put out the clip of Murph talking about Sal Frelick and that he needed to go tell him that he loves him. And we asked Murph if he has told Sal he loves him yet. He said no. In fact, he hadn't talked to him. Although during the conversation yesterday, when there's a back and forth and Murph and the media, and Murph actually ended up crossing it off and saying, actually, I don't want to go tell Sal I love him. Sal's one of Murph's favorite players. So he loves to joke about him. And so Lex, to answer your question, he has not told Sal he loves him yet. Let's see here. Wisconsin Sports Fanatics says, let's go Brewers. Absolutely. Boss Dobler, appreciate the words. Lex bringing up another point. On Friday, if you missed the show, we had Jeff Hem, play-by-play announcer for the Nashville Sounds. So if you are interested in Nashville Sounds baseball, I know especially Dobler and some of our other fans are here. Go back and search that on YouTube. It's just the Baseball Pregame Show. Go back to Friday's version and go listen to that interview. Great perspective on Cooper Pratt, great perspective on Jet Williams and some of the things going on in Nashville and the connection between Nashville and Milwaukee. And again, just saw it again, right? Carlos Rodriguez just came up the other day. Coleman Crow comes up today, and he is going to be starting on Friday. This is what Pat Murphy has really liked about Coleman Crow. He's made 2 starts in the majors so far, in Miami and then in Minnesota. 2 very, very solid outings, and he'll do it again Friday in Houston for his 3rd Friday night start on the road this year, which is wild. Like, he still hasn't started at home. I was hoping he'd start tomorrow, so then, we'd have a start for him here in Milwaukee, but it'll be in Houston. I have a feeling his next start could definitely be at home. But here is Pat Murphy talking about Coleman Crow, who was called up today from Nashville.
Really good. He was poised. He was excited, but he was poised. He made pitches. He understood the game plan. He understood himself. He was impressive both times. He's been impressive.
Do you think he stands out from those young pitchers in like his understanding of himself and his stuff and like what he needs to do?
Well, he kind of has to, like, because the stuff isn't as crisp, and he has to rely on command and edges and things like that.
Is it normal for a younger guy to come up and throw as many different pitches as he does to sequence and do all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's who he, the setback of the injury and all that. I think that's who he knows he has to become. And I think he's worked at he's bright. I think he's worked at it from Jump Street to kind of do that. And he loves it. He loves it. So you talk about part of understanding some sequence and reading swings, all that kind of stuff, I think.
So there you go. Pat Murphy on Coleman Crow a little bit there. I hope to get a chance to talk to him tomorrow, and maybe we can bring you that on Milwaukee Baseball Tonight, which will be my next show coming up Thursday evening at 6 here on Fox Sports 920. It'll be an audio-only show, so make sure to you can listen live on the iHeartRadio app, Fox Sports 920, or if you miss any of the Milwaukee Baseball Tonight shows, the weekly 6 to 7 shows, you can go to the Baseball Pregame Show podcast page. Just search the Baseball Pregame Show with Hunter Baumgardt on the iHeartRadio app, and that's where you can find it. But again, it'll be live on Fox Sports 920 and on the iHeartRadio app coming up on Thursday night at 6. And also, I always make sure to tell everybody what's going on my socials. So just follow me at Hunter B on Air, and you'll be able to follow everything Hunter B on Air. Let's see here. Do you think Jesus Made could be the next Robin Yount? Oh, that's a fantastic question. I think it's probably way too early to try to answer that since he hasn't played above Double A yet. But he is playing pretty well. I know, Jackson Churio has been in that conversation at times, right? It takes a while for these guys to get into that conversation, but there's a lot of hype in Jesus Made right now. Jesus Made, boy, he is the top prospect in baseball, and he's in the Brewers organization. Isn't that awesome? All right. A couple of quick facts before we get you out of here for tonight. Brewers have hit just 35 homers on the season, fewest in the majors, but they've surrendered just 37. That's also fewest in the majors. So that's still going. Hey, by the way, William Contreras, 9-game hitting streak, and he extended to 10 tonight, during that 9-game streak, he's hitting .395 with a .899 OPS. Did you notice that yesterday both starting pitchers had 10-plus strikeouts? Miz had 12. Liberatore had 10. It's the first, the 12th time in franchise history that both starting pitchers had 10-plus strikeouts at a game. The last time it happened was May 28th, 2024, when Freddie Peralta had 11 strikeouts and Ben Brown had 10 strikeouts. So that is exactly what, that is just a fascinating kind of little tidbit there, isn't it? I thought so. Kyle Harrison, by the way, 4-0 with a 0.96 ERA over his last 5 starts with opponents hitting 192. And over that stretch, 41 strikeouts, 7 walks. Can't wait for him to take the mound in just a bit. This has been the Baseball Pregame Show. Thanks so much for all the comments and watching. I'll talk to you Thursday night at 6. Follow me, Hunter B on Air, for all the coverage. This has been the Baseball Pregame Show presented by Import Minded on Fox Sports 920.